Nathan put his arm around me and put his head on my shoulder on the couch. We were watching a movie, and he had tears in his eyes, and he was just real quiet and held me close. And I started to get emotional too. This movie is one of the best fatherhood movies I've ever watched. It's called Lost on a Mountain in Maine. Go watch it. And this is the second time we've watched it, but every time we do, we both get emotional because of the loss of the father, the loss of the kids. And it's actually brought me and my son closer together just by watching it. I'm going to take you through some of the lessons in this movie and why you should watch this movie, and most importantly, what happened between the father and the son that caused them to fracture and break apart, snapping, what caused the father to be so irritable, so impatient, so unpresent, what caused the relationship between him and his son to be destroyed, and then how he was able to get back together. This is about Lost on a Mountain in Maine. First time I watched this movie was by myself, and then Nathan came in, watched it with me, Lauren came in, eventually Sarah came in, the whole family was there, and we were all just quiet for a lot of it because it's so emotionally hard-hitting. And I've never seen a movie so accurately describe the pain that a father goes through and how that can cause damage to the relationship with his sons. And this just absolutely nailed it. So the movie is about out in Maine, there's this giant mountain that this family ends up going on a hike. But this father, at the beginning of the movie, is out on business, financially hard times. He's coming home to his rural house out in the mountains. The wife is at home. He has two boys, probably around my son Nathan's age, which is why it hit me so hard, 11 to 13-ish. He's got one son that's a little more emotional, a little more mischievous, and he's got another son that's a little more obedient. You know, he's the quote-unquote good kid, the one that obeys quicker, doesn't get into as much trouble. So he's got these two boys at home, and they're always getting in trouble, running around outside, doing boy stuff out in the mountains. And they were planning on going on this 2-week-long fishing adventure with their father. So the movie shows the kids packing up their fishing poles, being so excited about it, talking to each other about the past years of doing it, and they're just waiting for their dad to get home. They show the dad coming down the driveway. He looks stressed. You know, his eyes are down. He's upset. He's got a briefcase and newspapers. The movie's set back in the day. And his kids are just chasing him down. The dad looks annoyed. But the kids are so happy. They don't know dad's upset. They're so happy to see their dad. Today's finally the day. We've been waiting all year to go on this 2-week fishing trip with our father. And he comes in, barely says hello to them. They're running up to him. He doesn't give them a hug. And he walks inside, talks to his wife about how he's going to have to cancel the fishing trip because times are rough at work and they need him to come in for something. And she's like, "Oh, are you serious, honey? The boys have been looking forward to it so much." And he just shuts it down. He's like, "Yes, I have to." And then he tells his boys, "I'm going to have to cancel this fishing trip." And the good, quote-unquote, good boy who is obedient, he's like, "Okay, Dad." Disappointed, but he just says, "Okay." And the other boy slams the door, runs out of the house, and isolates because he's so hurt. He was looking forward to it so much. And this makes the dad mad because the dad's like, "Why are you getting angry? I can't help it." That's the dad's kind of reaction at the beginning of the movie. And the movie shows the father's emotional maturity arc and parenting arc of the lessons he learned. So at the beginning of the movie, he's really upset about this. But that does change, and we're going to explain why that changes. And the son, the more emotional son, is so very hurt by this. He goes and isolates, and he starts to get mad at the dad. And the dad feels guilty on top of already missing on the trip. The dad wanted to go on the trip. He's upset about it, but he feels like he has to for work. And then he says, "Well, I'm going to try to salvage this." So he goes to his boys. He says, "Well, how about instead I take you up to this mountain and we do this like man hike up to the top of the mountain?" And the good, obedient kid is like, "Okay, let's do it." And the other child, the more emotional one, is like, "Well, it's not going to be very fun." But when he starts talking back or even offending a little bit the father, he's very, very hurt. So he's displaying his hurt by trying to hurt the father. And this is making the father really mad. So he snaps at the kid. He's mad at the kid. He puts him in his place. Eventually, the three of them go out to the mountains. They drive out to this mountain in Maine, and the weather turns horrible. They spend one night, have a campfire. Everyone's pretty quiet, still in a bad mood. But then they start this hike, and the weather starts to get really, really bad. Thunderstorms and crazy winds, raining so much. The dad says, well, we got to cancel this. We can't do it. It's too dangerous. And the boy, the more emotional boy, who's really, really hurt, is like, no, I'm going up. And they were with one of their buddies who's kind of a guide. And he starts fighting with the dad. And the dad's like, screw it. I don't care. You can go up with this, with the guy who was with them, with the guide. And the more obedient child said, okay, I'll guess I'll go up. He didn't want to, but he said, I guess I'll go up. He was just with the dad. He's like, okay, Dad, I'll do it. So they go up the mountain, and what ends up happening is, as the title of the movie suggests, the boy gets lost. He kind of goes off on his own. He gets in a fight with the brother, and the guy that they were with lost them. And then this boy is just lost in this crazy, dense, dangerous, mountainous forest in Maine. And that's the beginning of the movie. And through this, the boy finds himself, the relationship with his father and brothers are explored, and massive pain is revealed. But there's so much to talk about here. And I'm sure you have kids like this. If you've got multiple kids, you might have one that's a little more obedient and one that's a little more emotional. And what's the first lesson is, it's easy for us as parents to, whenever we are stressed out, to kind of treat those kids differently. Like the one that's more obedient, if you notice, sometimes we talk to that one differently. So the temptation, the trap we can fall into is, with the more obedient child, we can find ourselves neglecting them and saying, well, I don't need to spend as much time on them because they've got their stuff together. They've got their stuff together, so I don't have to mentor them as much. I don't need to guide them as much. And that's like being the kid at school who follows all the rules, who works hard, who studies, who the teacher never calls on or the teacher never acknowledges because they're so good at what they're doing. I remember being that student. I was like, no, I still want your attention. I still want to be taught. How come all the attention is being shown to only the kids who are disobeying? Like, that's the same kind of situation. And then what we can do to the other child who's a little more emotional, doesn't follow rules as much, is we can find ourselves building this expectation in our head of they're the one who doesn't follow the rules. So the way you talk to each kid is just naturally different because of the story you're constantly telling yourself in your head. Like, monitor how you're thinking about these children in your head, the different kids you have, the one who's the rule follower, the one who's not the rule follower. If you're the one who's not the rule follower walks in the door and you say, oh, what's she going to do now? Or, oh, what's he going to do now? That's going to color the way you speak to them and your expectations of them. And then you're going to find, if I constantly speak these expectations and with this tone of voice and this language to these children based on what I believe they are then going to live up to those expectations. So that's just the first lesson in here, is you've got the two types of kids, the more obedient one, the more emotional one. And the child that was a little bit more emotional, why was he acting out? Well, he was acting out because he was so hurt. He was looking forward to his father spending 2 weeks with him. Just imagine whenever you were a child and your parents wanted to go on a trip with you or wanted to spend a little bit of time with you. You looked forward to it so much. Lauren, this morning, I took Lauren on a 1-hour walk after I did my leg day, and then I'm lucky enough to work at home. Lauren goes to school a little bit later, so I usually get some cardio in after I do my workout. So sometimes it'll be a Stairmaster, but recently it's been nice out, so I've been taking Rusty on walks with me, doing work on my phone and getting my steps in. So I said, Lauren, you want to come on a walk with me? And she said, yeah. So Hermie went out, did a hike. She loved it so much. She said, Dad, that was so much fun. Can we do this again? And then she said, tomorrow, after we come home from school, can you and me go on a walk? She loved it. She said one of her favorite times of this entire past year was me and her going on a camping trip together. This is something me and my wife do all the time. Multiple times a year, we will take each child individually on trips with us, overnight trips. I took Nathan on a 4-night man trip to Vegas. My wife took my daughter on a 3-night trip to New York City. I took both kids individually out with me, camping for 2 nights. They love it. Lauren said camping with me was one of the favorite things she did all year, and going to New York with her mom is one of the favorite things she's done in her life. So they look forward to these things so much. And the more emotional child who ran off and started fighting with the brother and was kind of insulting the dad and mean to the dad at times, and the dad responded by snapping and shouting at him. That sounds like, okay, that's a bad thing. Yeah, but he's like 10 years old, and he's been hurt on like a soul level because his father has to go to work, or is choosing to go to work, and his son isn't going to get to do this. Like, that hurts so bad as a child. Try to think back and remember how painful that was whenever you're looking forward to something with your parents and then they canceled it. This child is not emotionally developed. He doesn't have that emotional control that we should have as an adult. So their strategies of processing disappointment is not going to be very advanced at 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. So the one child who's just more obedient was like, okay, that's okay. He was holding it inside, which also isn't really healthy. This other child, he was expressing it. But his way of expressing it at this age was, okay, my dad's hurting me. My dad's choosing work over me. That's the child's perspective. Well, I'm going to hurt my dad. So he was saying insulting things to try to hurt his dad. And he did. The dad allowed his child to hurt him. And because the dad allowed his child to hurt him without realizing, okay, he's just a child, that's what escalated the situation. And at times, what the dad then did in the movie was snapped at his kid and crushed him. I'm going to prove you right. I'm the dad. I'm the alpha. I'm going to discipline you. I'm going to teach you the right way. So on top of this kid being extremely hurt because he wasn't going to get to spend time with his father because he loved his father so much, the man that just hurt him from the disappointment, the man that he loved so much, is now crushing him on top of that because he was offended by a child. That's what we have to realize as fathers. Some of the times our children are acting out and insulting us, hurting our feelings. It's because they love us so much and they're hurt about something. What we have to do as wise, stoic, mature adults, disciplined adults, is not get offended by children. We need to have the discipline and emotional control to not allow children to cause us to lose our patience and snap and crush them with judgment. If they do that to you, if they allow you to change yourself into a monster and crush them, then that shows us our lack of self-control, not theirs. They're not supposed to have self-control yet. They're children. We are supposed to have self-control. We are adults. So you got to ask yourself, whenever my children offend me, are they bad people or are they hurting right now? And as their father, what am I supposed to do for them right now? Am I supposed to crush them for the principle of guidance, or am I supposed to warmly guide them? There's 2 ways you can do it, pushing or pulling. I can crush them or I can guide them. Maybe they're hurting. Maybe they really need a hug. Maybe when my own child, who thinks I'm God, says something to hurt me because he loves me so much and I hurt him by choosing something else, maybe I can just take the hit and wrap him in a warm hug and say, don't say that again. I understand you're hurting right now, but I still love you, son. This father was in such a bad mood, and he was snapping and stressed out, and he was acting in this way because of stress, anxiety. It was because of finances. It was because of his job. He felt out of control. On top of that, he felt guilt for canceling the trip. So all of these emotions compounded into him acting in a certain way, but that can't be our excuse or justification for hurting other people. That requires a lot from us. That is our responsibility, and that is our choice of how we are going to react and how we are going to treat people in our life. Like, are we going to say, well, yeah, I snapped because I was mad? Or are we going to say, I'm mad, I'm now going to choose how I respond? 2 different ways. One is skillfully reacting. One is choosing to react a certain way. One is just emotionally out of control reacting and snapping. There was a scene in the movie where they're on the hike and the child, the more emotional child, who got lost in the woods, he just started spitting. Because he's in the woods, he's with a bunch of men. Like, this is a tough guy thing to do. He's finding himself. He's in the puberty land, starting to get some hair on his chest. And this is, I need to prove myself time. He also wants to impress his dad, so he's spitting. The dad is in a horrible mood. He's miserable. He's angry because of all the stress in his life and the guilt and all these things. So his son spits. His dad just crushes him. Says, we don't do that. I already told you not to do that. And this son's head goes down, and he's just crushed. But that happens. We do that whenever we're so stressed out and we have a lack of self-control. It's a lack of self-control, and it's also a lack of discipline, because the more discipline you have, the less you allow your life to become uncontrolled. The undisciplined person is full of excuses and stories of why they can't get anything done. The disciplined person just gets it done because they have a plan. One person says, because my day is so chaotic, I can't put time into this plan, I can't prepare. The other person says, because my day will be chaotic, I must prepare. I must put time in. So the trap that we can get into with this is wanting our child to be a certain way takes precedence over who they are as a person. So in this example in the movie, this guy was already stressed out, but on top of that, he wanted his son to behave in this certain way. He wanted him to be a person that doesn't spit. And in that moment, his justification was, I need to guide my child and discipline him from being this person, from being a certain way. And my method of doing that is to crush him. It's like, okay, well, you fixed that one thing, but what happened now to your child's confidence? What now happened to your relationship with your child and how they view you and how they view what a father should be? So one thing is the size of a pebble. The other thing is the size of a canyon in terms of their importance. We have to say, what is more important here? What is the priority? Can I still guide and direct my child's behavior without crushing them? And what it comes down to a lot of times is we need to choose our child in these situations, which means we choose our child over the principle that we're trying to uphold. Now, I do not mean that you do not discipline your child. That's not what I mean. I do not mean that you have no rules. It's not what I mean. The person that thinks that is usually the person that is screaming and shouting, and that's their only method of controlling behavior or guiding behavior. No, I mean that you choose your child's well-being over, I must uphold this principle at all costs. At all costs, meaning I don't care what happens to my kid. My allegiance is to this rule. That's what I mean. There's nuance here. I mean, choose your child over the rule. You still uphold rules, but you choose your child while you do it. You say, I'm going to discipline you, but I'm going to choose you while I discipline you. I'm going to still show love and strength and warmth. It takes extreme self-discipline, extreme self-control. You can only guide your children in a warm, loving way while having them respect you, while having them obey you, if you have extreme self-control. And they don't view you as a hypocrite. If they think you're a hypocrite, they're not going to listen to anything you say. That's why we walk the walk. And recently the economy has been down for a lot of people. For a lot of people in the world, the economy is down for them. And that means that many people are suffering financial stress. So what are we going to do in these times? Whenever we have this extreme financial stress, are we going to rain down hell on our families? Or can we be stoic, wise, warm, and take the hits? This is the question for millions of fathers out there, millions of parents. When times get tough, who is going to show up? Is it going to be the wise, stoic, warm leader? Or is it going to be the reactional child? The child who can't take any stress and puts his burdens down on the shoulders of his children. Whenever you come in the door, are you warm, safe? Do they think everything's okay because dad's here? Or do they think we must be on guard because dad is here? And that feeling comes from your level of self-control. How you have handled stress in the past, how you've handled chaos in the past. When the house is in chaos, How does dad show up? Does dad show up when the house is in chaos, or does dad crumble? Do I need to be on guard? Do I need to walk on eggshells? Because when dad's stressed out, he can't take it. Or I can always come to dad. Everything's okay. Dad is here. That's the difference. That's the difference in our level of self-discipline, our level of self-control. Every one of us is going to go through resistance. Every single one of us is going to have burdens. But can we manage the stress skillfully? Can we face the stress and fight it? Can we face these resistance and obstacles and show up as our best self and not crumble? Or do we lay our burdens down on our family's shoulders and say, you deal with it, or I'm going to give this to you? The burdens we get to work, our family faces it. We're supposed to show up and handle it, but because we can't handle it, we crush our family. That's our choice. Let's build ourselves into people who are resilient by practicing personal discipline, by not allowing ourselves to get complacent in middle age, by maintaining personal standards for yourself so you can show up in the stressful times. In Men of Fire, my men's program, we call that being the lighthouse, being the strong, warm, guiding light to our family. And lastly, the scene that really got me was there's a scene at the end where the child is dying. He's been lost in the forest for, I don't know, a week or something, might be 10 days, and the world is fading from him. He's starting to hallucinate. And the thing that is keeping him alive at various times are visions of his family. He's in a cave starving, and he sees a light at the end of the cave, and he sees his family members there, visions of them eating together. And these are real memories this is a true story. These are real memories from the person retelling it. The thing that kept him alive in these moments was visions of his family meals. Not Disney World, not these crazy not the PlayStation he got, but these memories, these warm memories of him and his family, these touching, loving moments where his parents were there present with him. These loving, warm family moments where everyone was present, not looking at screens, looking at each other, warm embrace. Those family moments kept him alive. So when I watched that, I thought, what kind of memories are filling my children's days when they're scared, feeling alone, fearful at school? Maybe they're getting picked on by someone at school. Am I giving them enough warm memories at home to carry them through? When they're off at college or they're off on their own, am I giving them warm bedrock memories of family life that can keep them warm in their most scared moments? That's something that I want to make sure that I'm doing here. And then a couple days later, when he was really about to die, and he was hallucinating about his father, and he was narrating what he loved about his father. This was the part that I was just kind of in tears on the couch. And he was remembering his father, and he was speaking over these scenes. And he was remembering his father when he was a young child, and he was like 3, 4 years old. He said, I remember when Dad was warm. I remember when Dad was loving. I remember when my dad used to read me stories every night. He said, then something changed, and he doesn't read me stories anymore. He said, I used to pretend to sleep on the floor just so my dad would carry me to bed. He said, I don't know what happened, but my dad changed, and he doesn't do that anymore. Now his dad is just always stressed, shut down, obsessed with finances and work, and the warmth is gone. He said, I just want my dad back. And the memory of who his father was keeping him alive in those moments. So for me, the lesson is, what memories are we giving our children that could keep them alive right now? Are we that for them? Are we giving them warmth, love, everything they need right now? That's what we have to choose to give them. All the stresses and obstacles and resistance we're faced with right now won't mean a thing to us 20 years from now when our kids have moved on, when they're out of the house. won't mean a damn thing. So we must choose them right now.